All right, Kristina, thank you very much for joining me. I don't know about you. I've got my Christmas sweater on. I don't know if I showed you this earlier. You can't see all of it, but it's a little too warm for the day. It's warmer than usual this time of year, but I'm excited for the season, and I know if there's anybody in the hobby as excited or maybe a little bit more excited than me, it's you. So how
Yeah.
are you feeling?
First off, Jake, thanks for having me on again. I always love coming on your show. I'm glad you wore red because I ended up going with green. So we are very Christmas decked out, almost like we coordinated it, but it just like magically happened like that. The magic of Christmas.
There it
Um,
is.
I'm enjoying things. We are in a new city right now. We're in Dallas. So there's a lot of holiday things to do in Dallas that we're
Good.
slowly starting to check out. So I'm pretty stoked this time of year.
How is the holiday vibe in a warmer climate for you?
Um, it's not horrible. Like we were in Los Angeles for 3 years
Oh, that's
during
true. I
post
forget
at law
that.
school, so like it's not completely new. Plus, like I grew up by coastal, so like I grew up half on the East Coast in Connecticut and half in the LA County area. So I'm kind of used to it. It still feels like the holidays, even when it's warm to me. I do miss the snow though. We went home to my in-laws for Thanksgiving, and it snowed one day, and I was so excited that I got to see snow this year for the holiday season. So that was really nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have some friends who like to spend Christmas at Disney World or Disneyland, and I'm like, I love Disney and I love Christmas, but I don't know if I could do the two together. I don't know how I'd do in a warmer weather climate. I've always been in New England, but at some point I might have to give it a shot. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how
You can always
the
go
years go.
like early December where it's still Christmas themed, but
True.
you're back in New England by the actual holiday.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'll
Don't let
run that
me.
by my kids and see what
Yeah.
they think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure they're going to be so upset about
Right.
like seeing Mickey on Christmas.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they'll be devastated that, yeah,
Yeah.
no fun for the kids.
They'll definitely say no to that.
So with the holiday theme in mind, obviously we are both avid card collectors. What are your feelings on Christmas and holiday themed sports cards? Do you have any in your collection? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Do you love them?
I don't have any in my collection. Like I assume you mean like the Hoops holiday or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I
here's one that I know you, if you don't have the Luca yet, you need to get one. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there. The Santa hat card. This is my guy Mo Bamba.
Yeah, those I don't like. Those are a little much for me. Like I don't know, they're just not my cup of tea. I know people do enjoy them, um, but yeah, I'm not really a fan of those. For my collection, what I do enjoy though are the 89 and 90 Pro Set Santa Clauses.
Yes, I haven't
Those,
gotten one of those yet.
okay. Well, I actually pulled some data on those cards.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, the top 3 Santa Claus cards by highest price is number 3, the 1989 Pro Set PSA 10, sold this past June on June 6th,
Okay.
2022, for $1,500 on eBay. And then at number 2, the 1989 Pro Set Santa Claus PSA 10 sold on December 19th, 2021 for $1,625 on eBay through an auction. And then the top selling Santa Claus was the 1990 Pro Set PSA 10, sold on December 19th, 2021 for over $1,900, $1,920 on Golden.
Wow.
So those are the top 3 Santa Claus cards that have sold. for the hobby.
And how do the pop counts look on those? I imagine those don't grade typically very well.
I didn't pull pop, so you'll have to.
I'll take a look.
Yeah, you'll have to add that in with little like pop-up video style thing.
The magic of editing.
Exactly.
So one of the I don't know if this is a pro set. This is like one of the early 90s. I don't even know who created this. I think this was 93. This is one that my friend Joe got for me. And it's Santa putting ornaments on the tree, but each of the ornaments are the classic old school card companies. So you've got Upper Deck and Tops and Skybox and Fleer and Pinnacle and all that. So he his local card shop actually I'm very grateful. My friend who lives in a different state goes to his card shop and asks his card shop to search for Santa cards for me. So, and his card shop loves doing it, and I get a care package every so often with a stack of new Santa cards, which I'm very grateful for. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I do, in case anybody's wondering, have plenty of holiday cards in my collection. So the Mo Bamba is the only modern one that I have. I don't really like the sweater cards, even though I love wearing a good Christmas sweater. But I love like Santa themed stuff. I actually have a couple of jumbos out to grade with Beckett. So one of them is a piece of a Santa suit from Santa himself.
That's awesome.
And then the other two are of Santa hat cards that have like red velvet pieces that Kevin Garnett wore and Ken Griffey Jr. wore. So those are fun. I'll be excited to see those slabbed up. And then
look forward to seeing them on your Instagram.
You will. Unfortunately, they won't be back in time for the season. But here's one that you can look forward to seeing on my Instagram that I love. And this is the Topps Santa autograph card. So anybody who's wondering, is Santa real? We've got autograph evidence. He hand signed this, and it was authentic. It was graded by SGC. They gave that auto a 10 grade. And one of my kind of like, as we get into talking about Christmas movies, one of my like Miracle on 34th Street projects is I'm determined to get 4 copies of that card and send one to PSA to get it graded and the autograph authenticated, one to BGS graded and authenticated with the autograph, one to CSG, and I already did the one for SGC. So if all 4 of the major grading companies authenticate Santa's autograph, nobody can say to me that they think that he's not real. So
I couldn't agree more.
I love it. So that's one of my projects. I'm gonna, I just grab those every so often when they pop up. So with that in mind, we got together to talk about Christmas movies.
Yes, we did.
So before we get into it, when my daughter was like 3 or 4 years old, created a schedule for all of the Christmas movies that my wife and I were going to watch with our daughter as we led up to Christmas Day. And we had them all planned out. And when I shared that with my wife, she laughed and said, "You're crazy." So.
What? Why? What's wrong with that?
Oh, there was nothing wrong with it. She was just like, if you think that our life is that predictable and able to be scheduled with like I said, she was 3 or 4. She was like, that's not gonna work. And she was right. She was right, because like there were plenty of times that, my daughter fell asleep at 6 p.m. and there was no movie happening. So we squeeze those movies in throughout the year whenever we can.
Okay.
Don't worry, she has not been deprived.
Okay. So. I got nervous for a second.
No. Don't worry. I keep that spirit alive all year. As I know you do too. So
I do. I start listening to Christmas music like January 4th. Like I take a week break, mostly because Hoj tells me I have to. And then it starts up again.
See, yeah, so you're even more committed than I am. I have been known to start listening to Christmas music if I'm having like a day that I'm feeling especially nostalgic, maybe April at the earliest, but I usually hold out until June.
Wow.
Yeah. And I usually start with holiday jazz. And then I wait. I hold off. I restrain myself to get into like the classics of Nat King Cole and all that kind of stuff until October. So,
wow.
so.
You know, my mom like never let us listen to Christmas music until like after Thanksgiving as kids. Like she was just not like let us like it was Footloose or anything, but like, you know, she'd be like, we're not playing it on like the family like boombox or whatever, like stereo system, right? But now like my siblings and I, like I'm one of 4, and like all of us listen to Christmas songs year round. So I think that like maybe if my mom didn't have that like strict moratorium like from when we were kids, like maybe we wouldn't be so obsessed with it now. But I don't know, there's just something feel good about Christmas songs that, you know.
I agree. And it's funny, my parents did the same thing. They had like a bin that was, you know, a red bottom and a green top. That was the Christmas bin. And they'd bring it out after Thanksgiving and then it would go away. Usually they'd wait to take it away until after New Year's. But that had like all of our old, you know, Christmas VHSs, and we only got to watch them and, you know, play with those Christmas toys and all the Christmas stuff. We had a Christmas CD that we got one year, and the end of it was a telling of the night before Christmas that James Earl Jones read. And listening to James Earl Jones's voice, and I've tried to find it on YouTube, I can't find it, but his voice reading the night before Christmas there's something kind of special about that. So, yeah. But we could get into a lot of nostalgia. You know, when you find somebody else who has a affinity for elf culture, like the two of us, you know, it's a special thing. So,
yeah. I like drag the entire family to like, you know, the Festival of Lights every year on Christmas Eve. So we're gonna have to figure out what we're doing this year for that, since we're gonna be spending Christmas in Dallas this year. But like, you know, where you like drive through like a park that's like all lit up with different Christmas lights, playing Trans-Siberian Orchestra like during the trip. And like it's not something that Chris really enjoys, but he does it anyway for me.
He endures.
He does. He endures. Yeah. Poor Hoj.
That's right.
Yeah. He has to put up with so much. Someone who always tells him to buy that card and then drags him on Christmas. Go look at Christmas lights. Such a hard life.
He's a lucky man.
Such a hard life that he lives.
Oh, so with that in mind, we were trying to get our list of our favorite Christmas movies down to 5, and neither of us could do it. So let's start in. What do you have? What do you want to start with? Your number 10?
Sure. Okay. So for 10, it's okay. Anyone who listens to the crossover like knows that the boys all make fun of me about this, but it is Hallmark Christmas movies. And yes, I'm putting all of them in at number 10 because it's basically the same plot, right? Like it's the same plot with similar looking actors with the same sappy storyline that just, you know, does the feel good nostalgia where everything is hunky-dory in this little town and nothing ever goes really wrong. It's just little mishaps that somehow bring people closer together during the season. So my number 10 is any movie that's on the Hallmark channel.
I think that's appropriate. Picking just one Hallmark movie seems like it would be a party foul.
I could, like, I do have a favorite that I watch every year. It's called The December Bride.
Okay, all right.
But like, yeah, it's not like, again, interchange that with anything else and I'd be happy as well.
Fair. Yeah, it's funny because my wife, when she assumed, because she knows my love for Christmas, that I also love Hallmark Christmas movies, which I don't. And she was wondering why, and I said it's the same reason that you just gave. They're all the same plot essentially, with just slightly different things. So then when she caught me watching a Hallmark Christmas movie, because I was like opining for some Christmas stuff, and that was the only thing on, she was like, "Are you feeling okay? Because this isn't like you." And I'm like, "I don't know what happened. There are no Christmas movies on demand right now, so this is what I'm resorting to." I had a few minutes, and so. I don't.
Do you know
I don't love them, but
they also use the same locations? So like they'll like get permits for a town, and they'll film like 4 different movies in that town square.
oh wow, I didn't know that. But I have always wondered, how is it so sunny so long in the middle of December in all those movies?
Because they film them in July.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, like they're not filming them this Christmas to release next year.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I figured as much, but it's always like I always think through, like, how is it that in New England I have 2 hours of sunlight, it seems like, and in these fictitious, New England towns, they've got like 12 hours of sunlight. So
I mean, it's the magic of Christmas.
it is the magic of Christmas.
Smiled on that town for that movie.
That's what it is. All right. Well, so I think that's probably going to be a popular pick. My number 10 is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And I really had to get one of those stop motion or whatever they call that film techniques in there. Is that what it's called?
I think it's called claymation, no?
Okay. I don't know. I know that's what they called Gumby. If somebody knows for sure what that stuff is called, yeah, drop it in the comments. But
drop it in the comments, guys. School us on what we should be calling these Christmas movies.
But I had to pick one from that genre because there's a lot of great ones, and I think Rudolph is probably my favorite, and it's like one of the, I think, easiest quotable ones, and it has some of those characters that, Herbie and all that stuff that are just kind of synonymous with Christmas fun for me. So
okay, so for 9, I have Love Actually.
Okay,
yeah,
that's a popular one. I don't think I've ever seen Love Actually all the way through. So
yeah, no, you're fine. I'm a girl, so like that was, I don't remember when that came out, but I remember watching it in high school and like over and over again.
There's some iconic moments in that.
Yeah, and plus it's like one of those like things work out movies. Like
yes.
Even the people who like are having, the worst lead up or the like worst Christmas, it like actually spans 2 Christmases, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Like the next Christmas, like spoiler alert, everyone ends up with a happy ending.
It wouldn't be a Christmas movie without some sort of a happy ending, right?
I think so.
So number 9 for me is A Charlie Brown Christmas. And I intended to ask my daughter her favorite Christmas movies. I have a feeling this would be very high on her list, which was to my delight and my dad's delight as well. My dad loves Charlie Brown Christmas, and he wasn't sure if my kids would get into it, and they love it even more than I do. And we've got a couple Charlie Brown ornaments on the tree now because of them. So
I've never actually seen this movie.
Well, what's devastating is I think it's only on Apple Plus now. It used to be on a lot of streaming services, and that's like one of the few that I don't subscribe to. So we'll see if I can find it like somewhere.
I know the concept of like the Christmas tree, and I've heard the Charlie Brown speech that he gives about like what Christmas actually means. Yep. But I've never seen that entire movie.
Yeah, it's a fun one, but it's slow. I love it also for the music. I think it's Ven Grimaldi does a fun jazz score that's like, if you love Charlie Brown Christmas, that jazz score is like Christmas to you, and if you don't, then it's probably like, okay, this is just jazz. So anyway, what are we up to? Number 8? What do you got?
Yeah, number 8. I have The Muppet Christmas Carol.
I love that one. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that one.
I remember watching that as a kid, and like, there's like this one part where like the rats are like complaining about how cold it is, and then like he's like, he does something where he's like, Ebenezer does something where he's like you're complaining, blah blah blah, and the rats are like, heat wave, this is the island in the sun. Oh, and that, like, my cousins and I like told that joke over and over again, like as kids, like whenever we would complain about being too cold, like it just, yeah. So that one's nostalgic for me. But I'm a huge Kermit fan.
Okay.
So The Muppets Christmas Carol is number 8 on my list.
That one didn't make my top 10, spoiler alert, but that was one, like I told you, was on my extended list. So I had that, I think, 13 or 14.
Okay.
But I think that was the first Christmas Carol film adaptation that I ever saw. And when I showed it to my daughter, I can't remember how old she was young. And she recognized from the Muppet Babies, she was like, "Oh, that's Fozzie." And then she said, "Waka Waka." And she, that was like the extent of her speaking at the time. She must have been like 2 or 3. And I was like, wow, I'm impressed that she recognized him. So
The Muppet Babies were my jam as a kid.
Love
I was obsessed with the show. Yeah.
Oh, good pick. I love that.
Yeah.
My number 8 is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, but very specifically, I'm talking about the 2000 version with Jim Carrey, the live action one.
Okay. If I have this higher on the list, should I tell you now or wait?
Let's wait. Let's wait for the surprise.
Okay.
But yeah, I have some fun memories going to the movie theater with my aunt. Who she traveled a lot, so we'd only see her on Thanksgiving, so it was very special. And she would celebrate Christmas with us on Thanksgiving because she'd usually be traveling at that time. So we went to go see that movie with her. So a lot of fun.
Okay.
All right. What do you got for number 7?
Number 7, I have A Christmas Story. Do you know what that? You don't like that one.
I know it, and I know I'm in the minority, the distinct minority of Christmas lovers that don't love that movie. But it has some great lines, and I am frequently saying, ho ho ho, and you'll shoot your eye out to my brother. So my brother loves it.
And oh fudge.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. I actually, as a child, didn't believe that if you licked a pole, your tongue would stick. So I licked a chain link fence, like the pole part, to prove to my brother that it wouldn't work. And my sister had to run upstairs and get warm water and come and pour it on my tongue to get it off the fence. So yeah, so that was a movie that my family watched all the time, and then it's on TNT for 24 hours on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And I have many a memory of wrapping presents on Christmas Eve to that movie in the background.
That's nice. I actually I can't remember what it was, but I was watching something that was talking about the making of that movie. And they talked about the practical effect of how they did that tongue scene. I think they had a vacuum or something in there, but they said that there were issues with it even trying to simulate it to not have a kid's tongue freeze, they still had issues. So if I remember correctly, they should have
just done it, given him hazard pay or something. It wasn't that bad.
And it was a while ago.
It wasn't. I still have taste buds. It's fine.
Right, you didn't lose that many layers of skin. They grow back.
Yeah, it's fine.
So number 7, I've got Elf, and it was at number 7. This is when it really started getting tough for me, and I was putting some stuff that I really really like. But Elf is one of those that I don't have as much nostalgia because it's a newer movie. So nostalgia starts winning out at some point on this list.
Yeah, so I have Elf at number 6 on my list.
Okay,
So
great
I was
segue right
ready.
into it.
Yeah. So I totally agree. Like, Elf is an awesome movie. It's one of those movies that you could watch year round, and they're great. There are really great quotes from that movie, like cotton-headed ninny muggins.
Yep.
And the 4 food groups of elves. So like, I really enjoy this movie. But yeah, it had to drop down lower on the list, unfortunately, for me.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that it's always funny because like sometimes there are things that happen when you're watching these movies with other people that become just as memorable as things in the movie. So the scene when Will Ferrell, Buddy, goes into the locker room because he's hearing somebody sing Christmas carols in the shower, and Zooey Deschanel is in there taking a shower, and he starts singing along with her to "Baby It's Cold Outside." My mother-in-law was watching the movie with us, and she kind of started midway through, so she didn't understand the fact that like this guy isn't really an adult mentally. So when he runs out and bangs his head on the locker, she goes, "Serves him right." We were like, we had to like kind of backtrack and explain to her like he wasn't doing anything mean or bad or trying to do anything. So she was like, "Well, he shouldn't have been in there anyway." So whenever my wife and I watch that movie, we always look at each other at that scene like, "Serves him right."
Yeah.
So that was one of the fun memories. So 6 for me, and this is another one that pulled at the heartstrings, is Miracle on 34th Street. But I'm specifying is the 1947 version in black and white. And like, I also love a good period piece movie, and obviously like this was a very good encapsulation of that time at that, when movies were being made there, and like how they had like kind of the transatlantic accent and stuff. Like I just love thinking about that time, and my grandparents were around the same age as some of the actors at that time. So it's a fun one for me to think back to some of those nostalgic memories and the nostalgia of the movie.
Okay, number 5, I agree. But number 5, I have Home Alone. The first. Yeah.
Okay. So Home Alone first was number 11 on my list.
Okay.
And we'll probably talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah.
But I mean, I absolutely adore that movie. So putting it at number 11, there's a reason. But it's so good. It's so much fun.
It's just so good. And it's like, every kid's dream and nightmare. Like,
at
right?
the same time, yes.
Yeah, at the same time, to like have the house to yourself and like wish your family away, especially someone who comes from a large family. Like, I totally understand Kevin, where he's just like, well, I wish you weren't even here. And Mom was like, be careful what you wish for. And then the next day, boom. Like, so I love Home Alone. And then the whole concept of like, he's nice to the neighbor who then ends up helping him at the very end and saving his life. And like protecting your castle as a kid with all these tricks and things. Yeah. And
there's a lot.
Wanted to do that, like out the window to the treehouse zip line.
Oh, yes.
He did. Like as a kid, I remember watching that and being like, I want to do that. How can we set that up?
Right. Oh, absolutely. My brother actually set up some things to try to do it. We had, we called it a treehouse, but it was really like, some plywood on top of some 2x4s that we, had like a roof on top of. And my brother created a zip line, which was just a rope tied to a tree that was lower down, and tried to do it. But, he didn't understand that, like, you have to kind of get the slope right. So it was like too, low, and he hurt himself a little bit doing that. So be careful if you're trying to recreate it. Serves it right. Yeah. So number 5 for me is Jingle Jangle, which is a much newer Christmas movie, and it's a Netflix exclusive. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who haven't seen it, but
I haven't seen it.
I implore you to see it. It's a really fun movie. But the other thing too is like my kids absolutely loved it. And there's also a piece of, it was in the Representation Matters group of Christmas movies. And, you know, my kids being mixed race, they loved seeing kids that looked like them in the movie. And there's also a scene where they dance to an African song that my wife knew, and she didn't know that that was in the movie. And they started doing the dance routine. She's like, I know that dance. And then my daughter wanted to get up and do that. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that. There's also like a story that really pulls at your heartstrings that like we had some like personal connections to. So like there's a lot of things that really pulled at us that made it like very like personal for us. But then also like the costuming is like to die for me, right? I love like Victorian era type of stuff in it. So there's a lot of things like visually that like just a lot of things that are specific to me. So I understand if other people are like 5, it shouldn't even be in the top 10. I get it, but for me, it's one that I watch often. So
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. I'll check it out.
yeah, it's fun.
Okay, I'm at number 4 now.
Yes.
Okay, I have Miracle on 34th Street, the Matilda version from the 90s.
Okay, all right.
So I love the 1940, I think it was 43 or 46. I don't
Somewhere
remember.
around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I love that version. Like anytime, like when you like watch it and he like starts speaking to the little girl, like it's just like tearjerker, like where, oh, we know you can't, like she knows you won't understand her, but she just wanted to see you, and then he starts speaking to her. But in the newer version, it was the American Sign Language, like
that's right.
Yeah. So instead of, I think it was Polish that he spoke to the little girl in the older version. In the newer one, it was American Sign Language. And like the old one gives you chills, like, but the new one like just makes you cry because you're just like, oh my God. So yeah. And I love that, like, you know, jaded little girl who like gets proven wrong at the end of the movie.
So one of the things that I really like about that one more, a little bit more than the 40s version, is I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy who plays Santa, like there's something about him that just like makes me feel like he's like a grandpa to everybody, right? He just feels like that warm, cuddly grandpa that you want to cuddle up with on the couch. So I really like, I'm drawn to that one because of him. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He's
so
great.
It's a great movie, great story. Highly recommend if no one's seen it. Where have you been?
Right?
But yeah.
Go watch both of them.
Yeah.
Back to back.
You should watch both of them. You can't just watch one. You have to watch both of them.
Yeah. Because they're the same plot line, but they play out differently. So, and I would actually like to see them do a more modern version of it. I think it would be fun to see them do one set in like today's day and age, but still with the same plot line.
Like, especially since, I think that there's a lot they can do to today, like to make it like in today's setting, but still keep the like the plot and the like themes. I would also, definitely. I'd probably like that one even more.
Yeah, it would be fun, I think.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what do you have for?
Number 4, I've got Home Alone 2.
Okay, Lost in New York.
Yeah, Lost in New York. So I had to put that above Home Alone. I think this is one of the very few, maybe the only time that I think the sequel was better than the original. And like it's also because like New York is like, for anybody who hasn't been to New York around the holiday time, it's a lot of fun if you love the holiday season, you know, Rockefeller Center, but like the whole city is like, I don't know. I don't know what it is about New York City around the holiday times, but it's a lot of fun. And them being there probably plays into it a little bit. Like some of my memories are because of them being there. But like I just remember watching that over and over and over and over again. And a lot of the things, you know, like the old man who he was scared of that helps him out. The same thing happened, you know, in a little different way. And, you know, so they have some of those same tropes, but I don't know. There's just something so, and like the toy chest, Duncan's toy chest. I mean, what could be better than that? I don't know if you ever heard the what's his name? There's a comedian, John Mulaney, has this bit about this movie, and he talks about a couple of things. But one of the things that he said that I was like, yes, 100%, is he said, I thought when he got a limousine with a cheese pizza, this is the height of luxury. And I was like, yes, as a kid, that's what it felt like. Like, is there anything more luxurious than having a cheese pizza just to yourself in the back of a limousine?
I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah. Okay, so I grew up in Connecticut, which is not far from you, but I am not a New York fan.
No? Okay.
No. So, like, I could do New York for, like 12 hours is pushing it. That's, like, my limit, right? Like, if I have to stay overnight, like, I'm usually pretty miserable the next day. Like, it's just, I don't know what it is about the city, but it just does not speak to me. So I stay away from New York as if it has the next Black Plague from the day before Thanksgiving until January 20th. Like, I will not go into the city during like those 2 months at all.
Okay. Now, did you go into the city when you were younger?
Yeah.
See, I didn't. I didn't go into New York. I'm trying to think of the first time. I never went for the holidays anyway until I was out of college. So I think that might play into it for some people too. Like, you went when you were a kid and it was a different experience, I'm sure, as a kid than I had my first time as an adult.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I've never been there during the holidays. Like, I see how it is like during normal times, and I'm like, this is just too many people for me. So, and then like, you know, their tourism like skyrockets during the holiday season.
Yes.
So I'm just out. Like, have fun. Like, my family goes like after Christmas and they do Broadway shows and things, and I'm just like, nope, I'll see you guys in February. Like, just not going in there. No.
Yeah. No. Soon, my wife and I, whenever it works out with our schedules, and my daughter, we're going to take my daughter to see the Rockettes. When she was a baby, I would put her to sleep. They had the 20th anniversary Rockettes on Netflix. I put her to sleep listening and watching the Rockettes. So she was steeped in that type of show tunes. And one year when my wife and I were in the city, do our holiday stuff in the city, we happened to be in front of Radio City Music Hall on opening night of the Rockettes show, which we didn't know, and the timing also was horrible because you've got a lot of tourists that come that aren't familiar with the area that start swarming at the same time, and it was literal. People were so jammed close together that like people were pushing other people to get through the crowds. So for somebody who doesn't like a lot of people, it was a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I had a friend who we would go into the city and like for New Year's Eve, not to Times Square, God no, but like we would go hang out with them like in their like apartment and stuff in the city, and it was just like like even just like taking Metro North in and like everyone's already drunk like on the train. They haven't even gotten to New York yet, like. And we would get on in New Haven because that's where I'm from. So like, the end of the line, like the first like leg of the trip, and everyone's already drunk, and you're just like, no, just never again, Jake, never again.
I hear you. I understand. Agree to disagree, but I understand.
Okay.
What do you got for number 3?
Okay, number 3, I have Die Hard. Anyone who thinks this is not a Christmas movie, at me, because I will have this debate with you 365 days of the year. It is literally set during a Christmas party. Don't tell me it's not a Christmas movie. Die Hard is in my top 3 all-time Christmas movies.
Okay. I mean, I'll give it to you, but in that case, then Batman Returns is also a Christmas movie.
I would give that to you.
Okay. Well, we're on the same page then.
I would also like to say, honorable mention, at number 11, I had Meet Me in St. Louis, which, while not just a Christmas movie, has the iconic song, Have Yourself a Very Merry Christmas. Very Merry Christmas. Yeah. That's the
My
first time
favorite
that
Christmas. My
yeah
favorite Christmas song.
yeah that's the first time that song was ever played. Like it was written for that movie.
Okay.
So I have Meet Me in St. Louis. Judy Garland is like a different breed of
Right.
like star, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
that was at 11. And it was like one of those like it's not really a Christmas movie, but it's a Christmas movie. So, but Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie.
Okay. Well, more about Judy Garland.
Yeah.
I've gone back and watched. She had a Christmas special, and she had her family. So Liza Minnelli was in it. You know, young Liza Minnelli. Mel Torme did a performance with her. And he's just an absolutely unbelievable singer. So the two of them singing together was beautiful. So I love watching that. You know, some old timey kind of, you know, again, time capsule of that time is fun. And yeah, they don't make stars like Judy Garland anymore.
No, and Meet Me in St. Louis is a fun one because it's set in 1903, 1904,
Okay.
when World's Fair was coming to St. Louis, and like it's about this large family, and like how like the world and things are changing in St. Louis, and like and how the family deals with it. So it's an interesting movie. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I feel like there's a lot of like slept on Christmas movies like in the 30s and 40s that like I'm just starting to learn about, and I'm like I need to go and seek these out and watch these. So there's a lot of stuff from the earlier black and white days.
Have you ever seen Christmas in Connecticut?
I haven't yet. That's
Oh
one
yeah,
that
that one's a good one.
Okay, that's one that I heard
White
about,
Christmas?
and I'm trying to find. Yes, White Christmas, definitely.
Okay.
The interesting thing with White Christmas, mentioning like songs that were written from movies, is like that song and that movie didn't rise into popularity. They rose into popularity together, but it wasn't until later on, after you know some of the GIs came back from the war. It's an interesting thing because there's a number of classic Christmas movies that didn't catch on until later on. Like A Christmas Story didn't really catch on until it was syndicated and shown for 24 hours. And I think It's a Wonderful Life is another one that after it reached syndication rose in popularity. So interesting stuff with Christmas movies there. All right, number 3 on my list is The Santa Claus.
Okay.
Just
The Santa Claus is number 2 on my list.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about how great it is.
That movie is like amazing. I don't know how else to explain it. Okay, so you have Tim Allen, who's like Tim the Toolman Taylor at this time, right? Like when he becomes Santa Claus, and he actually does like a like during the movie, like as a throw to his Tim the Toolman Taylor. That show was not called that. It was called
Home Improvement.
Thank you, Home Improvement. But it was so like you have this like another jaded character who is the hero, the anti-hero, really, which he starts off as Scott Calvin, like divorced, jaded, has his son for Christmas Eve, and accidentally kills Santa Claus, and then has to be Santa Claus.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I mean, that movie brings back so many. Like, whenever I think about that movie, not when I'm sitting down watching, but when I think about that movie, it's like Cards, where like the nostalgia brings me back. It brings me back to the den at my grandparents, sitting on this old couch watching the movie. And, you know, and again, it's another great encapsulation of that period of the 90s. You know, like from the Ford Escort that he's driving, and like he's on a car phone, which was like, okay, I know he's rich because he has a car phone in his car, you know. And like as a kid, the other thing too that I liked watching it later on, I never really got when he's on the phone and he's, you know, leaving a message on an answering machine of a house that nobody's at because they already are at his house, saying how he's late and how traffic is terrible, but there's nobody on the road. Like I didn't put all that together until I was, you know, older and driving. I was like, oh, okay, I get what he's doing here. So there's like stuff you can go back and enjoy later on.
Yeah. Another thing that just occurred to me that I have, like, the reason why I have this at number 2, but it's not really, but it works out, so we're gonna pretend like it is the ladder that shows up. So like CardLadder, rose ladder, like
there's some merch there.
Yeah, I don't remember how it was, but like
a rose such a clatter.
Yeah, but like it's like Charlie says it wrong.
Yes.
When like the night before, like when they're reading the story, and then it's like the ladder says like a rose such a ladder company or something like that. Like there's something like on that. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to go watch that movie tomorrow night and like recall it. But yeah, so it's just it's a great movie that, you know, it was a love, like there was a love story there, but it wasn't like between a man and a woman. It was between a father and his son. And like that just like, you know, is really sweet for Christmas.
Yeah, hits the feels. And to me, it's always so magical, the scene where he gets to the North Pole and the first time when they go and like kind of descend into the workshop. It's like, I always, if I'm watching it with my kids, I'm like, I will pause it to make sure that I'm not distracted during that scene. Like, it's just like, that is like the magical moment for me. And like that workshop, they never recreated it quite the same way. But I remember as a kid seeing that workshop and I was just like, again, I just felt like I was there. So good.
And I haven't seen it yet, but there's a 4th Santa Claus that came out this year.
So it's more like a mini series, I think.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think so. I haven't watched it yet, but I think that's what I heard.
But that's on my list. I have a full list of things I need to watch this year for Christmas that I haven't gotten to yet. And that's on the list. Oops, sorry. That's on the list. That's on the list. Spirited, Violent Night. I really want to see. Like, I made the joke that like Violent Night is like someone took to heart, like, and took it personally that people kept saying Die Hard wasn't a Christmas movie. So they were like, okay, then we'll make John Santa, and now you can't say it's not a Christmas movie. So Violent Night, Spirited, then there was one other that was on Netflix that someone told me I had to watch besides Jingle, but like another one that came out this year. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on that too. Is Spirited the one that's kind of like a new age version of Scrooged with Ryan Reynolds? I
think so. Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. I think that's what it is. It's a Christmas Carol-ish, but I don't really know the plot line. I really want to see that. It's a Will Ferrell Christmas movie, and he did so well with Elf that I was like, even if it sucks, I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah, I really want to see that one too.
Oh, and Christmas Story, Christmas. They're coming out with this year too.
Yeah, is that on Prime Movie? Where is that?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
One of them's on HBO. One of them's on Apple. One of them, like, they're all on different streaming platforms. Yeah. It's really annoying.
It is. I know. They're killing us.
Like, it's hard to keep track. Like, it's not even like you have to like buy all, because they always offer like the 7-day free trials.
Right.
So just like right. 7-day free trial.
Yeah, just don't forget to cancel it.
Yeah. You know, just don't do that with CardLadder.
Right. Yeah. No, we're not doing that.
No, that's fine. So there's like a whole list, and the Santa Clauses, I believe it's called, this year.
Okay.
On that list. But the Santa Claus, if that's not on someone's top 10 list, they're either like Gen X, right, Jake? Or,
right.
Or like, I don't know, because even kids today, like my niece loves that movie and she's 10. Like, so.
It's so good. My daughter loves it too.
Yeah, like it's not like it's a period piece where people are like, no, you have to be a 90s or 2000s kid, otherwise you don't like it. It's like you just had to have been a kid when you watched it, I think.
Yeah. The only problem is my daughter doesn't know it as the Santa Claus. She knows it as Charlie. Because when she was little, like, you know, we're talking like 2 years old, and I'd be like, "You want to watch a movie?" She's like, "Yeah, a movie." I'm like, "What movie do you want to watch?" She goes, "Charlie." And I was trying to figure out what Charlie was, and then eventually I figured out it was a Santa Claus. So still to this day, the Santa Claus is Charlie to her. So that's very adorable. Cute. And I'm not going to correct her.
No, let it live on for as
right.
long as possible. Yeah. All right, what do you have for number 2?
Number 2. So I think my top 2 picks are going to be pretty controversial, but that's, you know, that's what I live for. Okay. So number 2, I've got A Christmas Carol, but again, specific version. I'm talking about the 2009 Disney version, again with Jim Carrey. You know, I don't know if it's Pixar. That anyway. I love that version, and the reason why I love that version is because with it being animated, I feel like they could do some things that like your imagination might do while you're reading the book. That you can't really do with live action because it is pretty, you know, fantastical kind of story. So I just really like that. And Jim Carrey also with all the facial expressions, he does the faces for a lot of different characters in that movie, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I like that movie, but if I have to pick a Christmas Carol adaptation, it's the Muppets. So yeah.
And you know, I can't argue with you because it was really hard for me to pick which one was my favorite Christmas Carol, but I had to pick one, and that's the one. And so I couldn't have 2 Christmas Carols on my list.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Like 2 Home Alones.
Okay, at number 1.
Yes.
I have Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I love it.
That's my top Christmas movie.
Tell us more.
Because it doesn't have to be Christmas to watch that movie. It's always funny.
Yeah. Agreed.
I like when he's like looking at his planner. My favorite part is like he's obviously like the favorite, right, of that whole movie. And like them telling his origin story about like why he's the Grinch is like, you know, endearing.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
when he's like at home and he's like going through the phone book and he's like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. Like I just really relate to that. So
entirely or loathe entirely.
Yeah, like yeah. And then the other time when like he gets told about like the award.
Yep.
And he's like, what do I have tonight? Like dinner with myself. I can't cancel on myself
again.
Yeah. Like that also speaks to me as like someone who doesn't socialize.
Yeah. Wallow in self-pity. Yeah, that scene is so great with him.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is I think it also highlights like some of the genius that when you get a really great actor and you give them like all of that room to just move around in and do their own thing, like, you know, a lot of that was ad-libbed by him. And it just kind of shows kind of the comedic genius. Like there's some Robin Williams movies where like he just kind of has free range to go and do some stuff, and it's like when you get to see them just be fun. It's
the magical. Scene, yeah, I agree. The scene where he like pulls the tablecloth in the range, he was actually not supposed to make it perfect. Like he wasn't supposed to do the trick.
Okay.
He was supposed to pull it and have everything fly everywhere. But like he pulled it and like everything just like sat on the table, like, you know, like the like trick of like pulling a tablecloth out from like of the table. So that's why he ran back over and like threw everything on the floor with his hands, was because he was like, that was what the script called for. It was like him throwing everything off to grab the tablecloth, and he just like is so good like that it didn't work. So, and I think it makes it better that that's the cut, like the cut that they use, the edit they use.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd never do that. I'm gonna have to rewatch and pay attention to that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Great movie. Yeah.
And like the way that also they recreated Whoville like whoever worked on that set did some magic, because adapting some of those drawings in Dr. Seuss books, I'm sure was no small feat. So
No,
it was
yeah,
really fun.
and they did it very well. Yeah, so that's my top 10 list. What do you have at number 1, Jake?
So number 1 for me, and again, I will fight people over this, but for me, it's Polar Express. And like, I've got so much nostalgia for that story. So I'll tell 2 stories. The first one is, I was gifted the Polar Express book in a gift set that came with a cassette tape that would read it to you, which I never listened to, and a bell from the Polar Express. And sitting down, my aunt, who gave me that, sat down with me that Christmas day, read that story to me. I'd never heard it before. I was so enthralled. I was kind of like sitting there with like my hand in my mouth. I bit a hole in my hand. I started bleeding in the middle of that book and had no idea until my aunt was like, "What is on your hand?" And there was like a little trickle of blood. I was so just engrossed with like the imagination of that book that I literally, built myself to bleed. So that's one of those memories that it's just like, wow, I must have been really into that. And then later on, that bell I lost. So if anybody knows the story, that bell, being able to hear it ring, signifies that the spirit of Christmas is still alive in you. So the fact that I lost the bell would indicate that I lost the spirit of Christmas, and then I found it again. So I got the spirit of Christmas back in my heart. And then when I was in college, I was watching that movie with some friends, and all of a sudden, in the middle of the movie, one of my friends, she looked over at me and she was like, "Wow, Jake, you really like this movie?" And I was like, what? And she was like, "You had this twinkle in your eye. You looked like a little kid, and it's so incredibly cute. And I've never seen somebody like so into like a movie or anything." So it's one of those things like I didn't even notice, but like other people noticed like that kind of like magic sparkle in my eye over Christmas. So a lot of fun nostalgia with that movie. I just think it's a fun, magical, imaginative story, and also another one where Tom Hanks played a lot of characters in that and did a really good job.
Yeah, I remember when that movie came out, it was like a big thing, the animation.
Yep.
That like it was so real, like they made the characters look like more real than any animation had ever tried. And I remember it being like a big thing.
Yeah.
Polar Express is my little brother's favorite movie. Like, not just Christmas movie, like favorite movie. So it was an honorable mention for me, and I'm glad that you had it on your list because it's just an amazing movie. I agree. Mm-hmm. I remember reading that book as a kid. My brother had the cassette tape, and it came like in a box, like where the book, the cassette tape, and the bell. And like I remember my brother had it, and he would never let me touch the bell. And then he would hold his whole hand around it and shake it and be like, "See, like you don't believe in Christmas because like you can't hear the bell." So like I would like then start crying and stuff. But like yeah, having siblings is really great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. They torment you. But yeah, so I agree. Like that, Polar Express is definitely up there on the list as well.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, all these are so much fun.
Hard picking 10. Like
yeah.
Okay.
And like, there's so many movies also that like we didn't even touch on that are like great and fun, and I would love to hear. I'm sure there are going to be some people that are going to make really compelling arguments for some movies that we didn't even touch on.
I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Yeah,
tell us how we did this wrong, guys.
Right, please. I mean, there's no wrong answers when you're talking about Christmas movies. I mean, it was really hard for me to leave It's a Wonderful Life off of this list. Like
I'm not a fan of that movie.
No? Well, so my reasoning for leaving it off of the list is, while it is a Christmas movie, there's a lot of parts of it, like, it's a long movie, and it's like you almost have like two movies in one, and one movie is a Christmas movie and the other movie is just a movie about, a love story. So
it also like wasn't billed as a Christmas movie.
No, not at all. Nope.
It like came out in July.
Yep.
And Christmas is like people say Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, but like the studio didn't think that It's a Wonderful Life was a Christmas movie.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean it really all comes together at the end, and the end really brings it all together and makes it the Christmas movie that everybody remembers. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff. I mean, the other fun thing that I think is, like, there's a Twilight Zone episode, and I'm blanking on the name, where the character goes back to his childhood town, and there's like a moment in It's a Wonderful Life where, like, where he goes back and nobody recognizes who he is and all that kind of stuff, that like kind of has some parallels there. So it's like some of the concepts in there weren't like very original, but it just, I don't know, there's just something about it that it's fun, but it's hard to sit down and watch the whole movie all the way through because it's so long. The first time that I ever tried to sit down, I was just like, wow. I remember watching it with my parents. I was in college and I was like, this is way longer than I remembered. And like, yeah, I thought this was like a 30-minute movie. No, try like 3 hours. So
yeah, it's a really long movie.
Yeah.
The best part of that movie is George Bailey being like, what do you want? You want the moon? I'll lasso the moon.
Yes.
That's the best part of the movie. Everything else is
it is, and you could take that out and put it in any other love story.
Yeah, and it would be great. It would make that movie great. But like the bad guy gets away with it.
Yeah, you're right. I always want Potter to kind of get his comeuppance, and
he doesn't. Like, the community comes together to solve the issue that and Potter never. Like, there's no consequence to him
being just evil.
It's just like a movie. I like my movies to be entertaining on the slightly unrealistic level. I don't want to be reminded that the world sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Authenticity matters.
Seriously.
Well, this was a blast, and you know what? Next year we'll have to figure out another. Maybe we'll do top 10 Christmas songs or something next year.
Oh my god, I'm gonna start that list now because
there's too many. I don't know if we can even keep it to 10. So
I don't think so.
This has been fun. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jake, and talking about my two favorite subjects: cards and Christmas.
What could be better?
Nothing. Nothing at all.